We've come to Freiburg in West Germany, where I'm going to be talking to a man who, for something like half a century, has been one of the dominant influences on Western thought. He's a philosopher, a political theorist, an economist, a logician, and now widely believed to be the inspiration behind Mrs. Thatcher and her government. He's Professor Friedrich von Hayek. Professor Hayek, I'm sure you'll be well aware that to many people in Britain, and particularly on the left, you are a kind of bogeyman. You are believed to want to throw people out of work, send children down the coal mines again, grind the faces of the poor in general. I don't suppose you share that view of yourself, but would you like to start by telling us how what you obviously regard as a complete misconception of your thought has arisen?
Well, naturally, I don't share it, but I must say I understand it. If you tell somebody that his past has led him to the morass, to withdraw may be even more painful than to go on where you are. And I am, I admit, in fundamental disagreement with the whole tendency policy has taken over the last generation. And I believe that the present difficulties are all due to this, and that to cure or stop the decline of Britain requires no less than a complete change of course. That means that I do not believe, as many people would agree, that socialism is half right. I'm convinced it's all wrong. And that is my starting point.
What is the dominant tendency that you speak of that you think has led us into the morass?
That we're not willing to accept the guidance by the price mechanism, which alone can enable us to create a system of international coordination where the individual efforts are not guided by the concrete knowledge of the results, but where we work for something about we only learn by abstract signals, the prices.
Why is that the only possible mechanism?
Because we don't possess the knowledge. The knowledge of facts is widely dispersed. We want to make use of knowledge possessed by millions of individual people, which they can only use if they are fed signals about the general situation. You can't reverse it, you can't possibly concentrate this knowledge. But the whole order of international cooperation has been built on such a signaling system where signals tell you about facts which nobody knows concretely in their totality. And I may add, such signals you cannot correct. You cannot correct signals which inform you about circumstances you don't know.
And these signals you mean are the prices in a free market?
Entirely the prices in the free market, which alone have made the present level of wealth possible.
But isn't the system fundamentally unjust in that, first of all, it only rewards in economic terms. Secondly, it rewards people in a way which may well be wholly disproportionate to their merit?
I admit both of this, but it can't be just. I mean, a guide system which decides which things happen to be most important for the rest of man in person cannot take any concern of the merits of the individual. Whether at a particular moment your services are very valuable to your fellow man or not does not entirely depend on you. And what we need is that people are forced to do what is beneficial to the rest, irrespective of what merit there is behind it or not. The whole idea that society can be made to behave according to human conceptions of individual morals is completely mistaken. We cannot accept from society that it's a concept that just is not applicable to society.
But surely, can't we, even if we accept your basic premise, can we not reward people in our society, not perhaps according to a scale of their virtue, but at any rate according to a scale of their needs? After all, the needs of one individual and another do not differ according to his ability to compete in the market.
No. What we can, but can only in a wealthy society, is to assure for all a certain minimum below which nobody needs to fall. Beyond this, we must use the signaling system of prices as the indicators what people ought to do, and that can have nothing to do with their individual merits or needs. Indeed, it will probably help them more to satisfy their needs if they are constantly directed to where their efforts bring the greatest benefit to their fellows than if we try to assess the rewards according to needs. It just cannot be done generally. It leads only to some people who have political powers being privileged.
But isn't it a philosophy based essentially on selfishness? That is to say, the only spur, it seems, is gain. What about altruism? Where does that come in?
It doesn't come in. See, both altruism and solidarity are very strong instincts which guided man in the small group where he was serving known other persons, when his efforts were directed to the needs of familiar people. Now, we have grown as rich as we are because we replaced this by a system where we no longer work for the known needs of known other people and no longer use the known assistance of other people, but where our effort is completely guided by price signals, which for the individual means that I must use my resources, or that's a maximum of excess of what resources is sacrificed for the purpose. But the justification is not my benefit, but that in this way I benefit my fellow man most. So it does happen that so far as commercial activities or economic activities are concerned, we will benefit our fellow men most if we are guided solely by the striving for gain. We are then completely free how to use what we have earned. And there, of course, the desire for being altruistic comes in very strongly, but not in the ordering principle of our society.